Welcome into another episode of Believe in Kentucky. We got Aaron Gershon from the Cats Pause. My name is Vinny Hardy. Y'all be sure to subscribe and like and follow on all the platforms. Get all the episode information and tell your friends about us and all that good stuff. We're part of the Believe Podcast Network. And Aaron, we can't say the win in Knoxville was a fluke because they just did the same thing in Lexington last night. We'll talk about top 5 ranked Tennessee coming in, and Kentucky beats them again. Second time in 2 weeks, same result.
Yeah, and honestly, pretty similar games, right? Where Kentucky kind of starts hot out of the gates in both, more so the first half, but a little bit in both halves. And obviously, crazy that both games to a T, they shoot 12 of 24 from three against a Tennessee defense that's number one in America at stopping the three, 26%. So, all that part of those two parts of it, really impressive. They were able to kind of win a similar game twice, and Tennessee completely changed their approach offensively where, they shot 45 threes. They took them really on Kentucky's terms. And in this game, whether it was the looks they were getting or not, they only end up taking 18 threes, and they only make 3 of them with Milicic hitting all 3. And Chaz Lanier's is held 0 from 3. Zakai Ziegler held 0 for 3. And they kind of let Ziegler shoot and have his moment, have his opportunities to score. He got to the rim a few times that obviously they're not trying to let him score at the rim, but they gave him some open floaters, gave him some open threes, and, just wasn't able to take advantage. So really, it didn't feel like Kentucky's game plan changed all that much from when they played 2 weeks ago down in Knoxville, but the execution, I think, on the defensive end was even better. They kind of picked up where they left off from an energy standpoint on the defensive end against South Carolina. Obviously, the caveat of that is Lamont Butler had a lot to say about it, but, with the last 8 minutes of the game, really the last 5.5, I don't think Tennessee had a field goal in the last 4.5, 5 minutes of the game. Their 4 points came at the free throw line. So even without Lamont, they were able to do a good job there. But, hopefully we'll see what Kentucky's dealing with when it comes to Butler. Obviously re-aggravated that shoulder, and it was scary looking at the moment. He ran right to the locker room and came back, but was in a hoodie, knew his night was done. So, we'll see what kind of news, if any, Mark Pope delivers us tomorrow when he meets with us. But other than the Butler injury, which is significant, and now we know Jackson Robinson's probably a week-to-week case rather than a day-to-day case. Pretty darn good night. And I think the most impressive part about it is you go up and down the stat sheet, and it's super balanced in every stat category. A lot of different players, including the Kentucky kids that we'll talk about, had a role in this. And, another top 5, another top 15 win. Program record, 7 top 15 wins. And we still, have 3-4 weeks left, and they're going to have at least 2 more of those with Auburn. Probably going to be 3, honestly. They're going to have Alabama and Auburn for sure. 5, I would say. And then I wouldn't say probably on Missouri, but a chance to get another one with Missouri to close out the year. So, really impressive showing it again, and we'll see where they're at injury-wise and all that. But, you can't take away what they did last night by any means.
That's it. And I'll get into it a little bit too. I'm a little bit petty, so I listen to the different Knoxville sports shows and stuff today because I like to hear the misery and the whining, and there's a wide range of reaction and stuff like that. But
yeah,
the broadcast last night, Molly McGrath's doing the sideline reporting, and of course they lead in with Kentucky just won 2 weeks ago down there. Zakai Ziegler and Tennessee were, I think, embarrassed and disgusted, and it was pathetic with the way they played. They weren't even in a defensive stance at times. So they were coming in angry and with an edge, and immediately Lamont picks Ziegler's pocket and set the tone for the game. Yeah. He's like, I wasn't here in Knoxville, and I was really hating that he, I wanted to see that matchup, and of course he couldn't play in Knoxville.
Yeah.
And so immediately you see the impact. I mean, takes his lunch and goes down and scores right off the bat. And then when he picked Gainey later on, that was unbelievable because they thought they
Oh,
had a layup and just man, he canceled it out and then the pass to Owe. But unbelievable. We had his fingerprints all over that.
yeah, no, he was outstanding, and Mark Pope described him as a one-armed bandit. So clearly, even even though before the injury, we all know that it did unfortunately re-aggravate, and hopefully we'll get an update on the extent of that tomorrow. But he was doing it still really beat up, and like you said there with the pick six start the game, kind of set the tone right from Jump Street. So just a really impressive performance by him, and really again the whole team. It was just such a balanced effort. I mean, your leading scorers in this game had 13 with Albanor and Owe. Like the way this season has gone for Kentucky, if you were to tell me going into this game against number 5 Tennessee with the best defense in the SEC, the best 3-point defense in America, that Kentucky's leading scorer is going to finish with 13. Granted, 2 of them, Otega away. Oh, and Ansley Almanor is going to be one of your leading scorers. I'd say,
Yeah.
well, yep, tough night. That's a tough night. Tennessee's a good team, whatever. But no, they got it done. And Kobe Brea again looked a lot better on the defensive end. I was kind of waiting to kind of praise that too much just because South Carolina, they're terrible offensively.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was happy to see the energy Kentucky played with defensively against South Carolina. I don't think you could take that away, but the execution, I think
Mm-hmm.
a lot of it is kind of just South Carolina.
Yeah.
So the fact Kobe Brea had another great defensive game and made some key plays with Lamont Butler out at the end was really important. And he scores 11 points. I think he finished with 3 threes, 2 of them in really timely spots. Obviously, Trent Noah just, I mean, I think I've said it on here plenty of times. I know I've said it with my colleagues here on the beat. For me, since the preseason, it's been pretty evident that of the 3 freshmen, Trent Noah was the most comfortable. He has the body that's the most ready. Obviously there's still work he needs to put in, but he has the most ready body of the 3, and he just looks the most confident of the 3. And I've been banging that drum all year, and I think the reason he didn't play much early on is because his position there really wasn't a need. They had him as a 4. Andrew Carr and Ansley Almanor were splitting 50-50 there. Well, Carr really 70-30, and then Carr gets hurt. Noah's forced to play a little bit out of necessity, and now he's played so well, even with Carr back. They're finding space for him at the 3. So especially now that Jackson Robinson's down. So I just can't say enough about the way he played. Not just, he hits 3 threes in the first half, but a gutsy play at the end of the game for nearly gets an and 1. And, those were his first 2 free throw attempts all season long. They come in a pivotal spot where you really got to knock him down. And he knocks him down with ease and obviously gets a couple big rebounds. I think he had an assist. So, he was huge in this game. Travis Perry, both kids, Kentucky kids with career highs in this one. 8 for him, the 2 threes. One was really deep, and then he gets in the lane and scores. So, still very much a work in progress on the defensive end, but good to see his shot fall against a really good defense. And, just go down the list, man. Everyone had at least one big play in this game that helped them get it done. And if you're going to be shorthanded, that's how you're going to have to win. And to do it against the top 5 team is all that more impressive.
Yeah, and it's still, of course, proud and biased being from Harlan County and seeing Trent. No doubt the people in Eddyville are feeling the same way about Travis. I would go home at least to catch, the games with him in high school as much as I could, and then just went and caught some of the state tournament run. And now seeing him here in Lexington, originally committed to South Carolina, no chance he's going to be a Cat, and now he is a Cat, and now he's contributing and not just garbage time anymore. Here we are in big minutes, and we're quietly hopeful and confident that, hey, I think he can play at this level. We kind of thought he could, and now he's stepping in and showing what he's able to do. And like you said, he's so comfortable. He knows where he's supposed to be.
Yeah.
It's not even like he's thinking and just like, what do I do? He's, and I tweeted last night, he hits 1 3. They missed him a couple times. Kobe Bryant went in and missed a layup when he should have
Yeah.
just kicked it to Trent out there on the wing. And he was, you see, we play pickup at the park when you're hot, hey, you clap for,
Yeah.
hey, I'm open up. He was already in that mode.
Oh, he was doing that all night long.
He was
And
locked
I
and
want to
loaded.
say the one of the three. I think he missed either. I forgot what he finished. He finished either finished 3 or 5 or 3 or 4. But one of the ones he missed, just it was halfway down. So I mean, just again, just can't say enough. He looked so comfortable out there, and he's doing it against really good teams. I mean, really outside of the Ole Miss game, I didn't think he played particularly. I didn't think he was bad. He had the 0 stat line, but I thought he was hurting them a little defensively. But outside of that, there really hasn't even felt like there's been that many growing pains. He's just kind of comfortable in his role this year, and I think as he's got 4 years. He's going to be, to me, he's probably going to be a 4-year player. I don't think he's necessarily ever going to be an NBA guy, which is totally fine. But he's just going to continue to get better in the role he's in, and it's going to expand. It reminds you of the guys like Derek Willis and Dominique Hawkins being from the state and the roles they played. But, he's a guy that if he continues to hit shots consistently, continues to defend, and rebound at a high level, he has a chance to be, honestly, have an even bigger role and better than those two guys. So,
he's versatile. He can
Sure.
be out on the wing. He can, and I think he's, we saw Almonor put the ball on the deck. I think Trent's got that ability.
Yeah, I think that's in his bag, and it's still that's just something that's going to come with more confidence as he gets older and continues to grow into his. I mean, again, we're talking about an 18 or 19-year-old kid, so he's still got some growing into his body to do. So,
and he's not afraid to bang now. He'll mix it up. If
he guarded Chester.
Yeah, or if it's a mismatch against a big, he can.
Yeah,
he's physical enough to hold his ground and not get pushed around too much. So and I've been texting guys and talking to. And his circumstances are different, of course, with Chandler being off for 2 years and all that. And offensively, you kind of still see him hesitate and things like that. He's come in and played good defensively. Last night, he had that great pass to Garrison for the dunk.
Oh, that's a beautiful pass. Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. I think he could have got that shot off if he wanted to, but he hesitated a bit and it's still been a great play because that dime was awesome. And I still think it's and this is old school, prior to one and dones, old people say it all the time. Freshmen progress slowly. It took a while. You didn't just see freshmen burst onto the scene in 1 year. I still think Colin is coming. It's gonna be the wheels are turning, and we gonna look up and see him put it all together and be like, oh, this is it's not quite there yet, but I don't think he's that far away.
Yeah, look, the guy hasn't played basketball. He hadn't played basketball in 2 years.
Yeah,
I mean, that's crazy. Yeah. I can't imagine, what he's going through, and I'm sure there's some frustration on his part just because he knows it's in there, and it's going to take time. So, we've seen it in spurts. There were a couple games in the non-conference where he kind of flashed that potential. We obviously saw it in the blue and white game. Actually, I don't know if we really saw it because it wasn't televised, and I was on the road, so I was not. I actually have just seen highlights of that, but it's been there in spurts, and offensively, defensively, he's brought good energy. I mean, he did a really good job against Tennessee the first time they played, and then nice job against. I know people were pissed off that he led the bench in minutes against Arkansas, and he did probably play too much in that game, but he was the reason that they were able to slow down Janelle Davis in the second half. Just DJ Wagner got it going. So, I think there's, obviously he's only scored 2 points in SEC play. There's a lot to unlock still there with him. I don't think the 3-point shot, he necessarily has confidence in it right now. He definitely could have taken it if he wanted it. But like you said, I'm glad when he hesitated, he didn't just fire it anyway. He made the smart move, and really, like you said, it was a dime. It was a perfect pass to Garrison for that wide open dunk. So work in progress there with Colin. I'm curious. I'm just curious. He's the one guy. I think what's nice about this whole new era under Pope is you're going to see a lot more continuity over the years. You're going to have multi-year guys. I don't think Trent or Travis Berry obviously going anywhere. But if there's any guy on this current roster, I have – there are really two, but him and Kirk Carissa, given what a red shirt could mean for him. But if there's a guy on this roster I'm kind of watching to see what he does this offseason as far as portal stuff, it's Colin, just because I can't imagine what he's going through, knowing, again, he hadn't played in 2 years. He comes back to the States and then he's immediately away from his family again. So I'm sure it's been hard on him all around. So I am a little curious to see what he opts to do this offseason. I mean, if he stays, again, I agree with you. If he can get in a flow, he can find the reason he was, he can find that potential that's in his game. And even if it doesn't work out and he goes and does it elsewhere, I think he has a bright future ahead of him. He definitely has a good head on his shoulders. He's a very good kid. He's a hard worker, and he'll continue to get better. But right now, there's no question that Trent Noah is the most comfortable of the three. And, Travis Berry offensively is definitely putting it together. I mean, he's not turning the ball over. I think he had one last night. His turnovers haven't really been an issue lately. He's shooting the ball with confidence. He's even getting in the lane a little bit. And, again, I mean, he's shooting 40%. I know it's a limited sample size, but he's shooting 40% from three on the year. How many shot attempts? I'm going to check that right now.
For Trent, 17, I think. Not for 17.
Well, Trent's shooting 52% on the year.
Yeah.
On those, again, limited sample size 15. That's limited, but still pretty good. And Travis is 10 for 25. So
okay.
Pretty, limited, of course, but pretty good. So I'd say definitely Trent, Travis, Colin in that order. But with the current state of this roster, assuming you're going into Saturday without Jackson Robinson and without Jackson Robinson and Lamont Butler, all three of the guys are gonna have to play, and Trent and Travis especially are gonna have to. Travis Perry might be starting on Saturday. It depends how Mark Pope wants to do it. I mean, maybe he won't because he closed the game. I think it was. I mean, they kind of did the point center thing with Amari. Owe was bringing it up a little bit. Had Kobe on the floor. I think it was Carr. And then did I list five guys? I don't even know. Oh, maybe were Carr and Allman were out there together at the end? No, Trent Noah. So I'll be curious to see what he does with the starting lineup if he doesn't have Robinson or Butler. But nonetheless, all three of those guys are going to have to play a role in this. But I think at this point in the game, this late in the year, Trent Noah is going to play a really pivotal role. He's earned it, and Travis Berry is going to play an important one as well. And then Colin, they'll continue to try to find space for him.
Yeah, they had to get creative with this roster. I mean, so many challenges, and they just kind of roll with the punches on how to piece together lineups and from one game to the next. And they had the challenge with Jackson for the first time without him, and you finally get Butler back and you lose Jackson. Crazy.
And I know it doesn't matter much because it seems like Kentucky does better against the best teams on their schedule, but you look at the rest, they play Auburn, Alabama, and Missouri, especially Auburn and Alabama. We know how elite those teams are. They go to Tuscaloosa next Saturday. They have Auburn 2 weeks from Saturday here in Lexington. But outside of that, like the rest of their SEC, and Missouri's a tough game out there too, for sure. Especially because you have the classic look ahead to the SEC tournament. But they have some these next two games you should win. At Texas, they've lost 4 in a row now, I believe. They got punked by Arkansas. They obviously got crushed by Alabama on their home floor. They're a team that's kind of been just bad, honestly, outside of Trey Johnson. They do have the leading scorer in the SEC and Trey Johnson, probably going to be a top 10 draft pick. They have talent, but, they had got a big win over Missouri and A&M back-to-back, and since then they've lost to Ole Miss, LSU, they beat LSU, and then lost to Arkansas, Texas, Arkansas, Vanderbilt, and Alabama. So they've lost 3 in a row. 4 of their last 5. So it's a team that's kind of slumping. They're probably desperate given, where they're probably on the bubble, but it's a team you should be able to go down and beat. Pope did it at BYU last year. I know it was a home game for them, but Pope and BYU beat this Texas team by 12. And there are a lot of, they didn't have Trey Johnson last year, but they have a lot of the same pieces as a year ago. And then you have Vandy at home, where we all know that game was very frustrating because you get off to that, you have that awful end of the first half. You come all the way back from 14 down to lead by 8, and then blow it again in the last 8 minutes. So that frustrating loss out there, but this one's at home. Outside of the Arkansas game, even in the loss to Alabama, you played really well in every single home game all year. That game's going to be here. Vandy, they beat Texas, like I mentioned, but outside of that, they've lost 3 of their last 4 since beating the Kentucky. They lost by 30 to a bad Oklahoma team in Norman. They lost by 11 at Florida. Florida was out without Walter Clayton Jr. in that game. And then they just lost to Auburn, which, everyone loses to Auburn, so that's okay. Win over Texas. So, and then they'll play number 5 Tennessee in Knoxville. I don't think they're going to sweep Tennessee. I think Rick Barnes will have his team pissed off and ready to go for that one. So, Vandy's kind of reeling right now. So those are 2 winnable games right here that you got to go take. And then also in there, LSU, who's the second worst team in the SEC behind South Carolina, still on the schedule. So, as good as the SEC is, and none of these games I just mentioned are going to be easy, lot to win wins, you feel like you, at the very least, what is it, 6 games left? 7?
7, because they're 6 and 5 in conference after last night.
Yeah, 7 games. You feel and Oklahoma's the other one they still have. They should at least go 4-3 on paper. But we all know this team doesn't like to play by the paper. They might go 4-3. They just might be Auburn, Missouri, and lose to Texas and Oklahoma.
But, I mean, it wouldn't. I hope. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they drop it Saturday,
right? Oh, two true road wins, right?
At Tennessee, and it's lost at Georgia.
Yeah, lost at Georgia,
lost at Vandy.
Yeah, so this team, as bad as Texas is playing, as mediocre as Oklahoma is, and then Missouri is a really good team at the end of the year. Who knows? So, but on paper, my point is it would be a disappointment if they at least don't finish 4-3, which would put you at 9-8. No, 10-8. 10-8. In this SEC with a first-year head coach without having a point guard at times.
Yeah.
You take. Look, fans are going to be like, "Oh, this was not us," but given the circumstances, I'd sign up for that any day.
That'd be 21-10 overall, I think, something like that.
Very solid. And then SEC tournament, unless you win it, really doesn't matter for the seeding. Unless you win it and you need an auto bid, literally, it doesn't matter for seeding. It's for the fans. That's why John Calipari hated it. I agreed. The thing with Cal is I get why he hated it, and I kind of I sympathized with it. It was just don't vocalize it. That's a conversation to have behind closed doors. And fans pay really good money to be there, and it means a lot to them. So go out and play those games hard, of course, but
and there was a time when you used to contend and win your share, and then it stopped, and then you started saying, "I want to go home," and it's just a bad.
Yeah, just don't say that. And
language, and
Mark Pope will be as pissed off as anyone if they lose a game in that tournament, which I'm not going to predict them to win that tournament. That's for sure. So but it's all out there. You've weathered the storm. It seems like another storm brewing now with Lamont out, and we'll see how they respond out there in Austin.
Got to get to the one little piece of news. Your poll that you put out earlier today about Trent Noah and the holler baller.
I love it.
Mountain Mamba. You got 15 hours left, 15 and a half hours left, 357 votes because you are a huge media person and got a big following. You got a ton of votes.
I wouldn't say huge.
80-20 in favor of Mountain Mamba, and
Yeah,
I think that is correct. That
I agree with it. I think I like the holler baller one. Kind of came out of nowhere. It was one that Mark Pope dropped during his press conference last night. I don't mind it. I just think the Mountain Mamba one's too good. Like that, it doesn't get much better than that.
you gotta uh, yeah, alliteration. I mean, Mountain Mamba, Braves fan, Hammerin, Hank Aaron. Was it
Yeah,
Joe DiMaggio, Jolton Joe?
Joe.
Uh, and look, I'm from Southeastern Kentucky, so yes, am I familiar with the hollers? Yes,
Yeah,
but it doesn't rhyme. You can't holler because look, when you're from Southeast Kentucky, like I am, you don't you say baller with a W, you say baller, ball. You put that ball, brawl, draw in it. So holler, baller, don't it doesn't flow. I like Mark Pope, but I can't agree with him on this. That holler,
yeah.
ball, it's holler. I can't even
Holler
do that
ball.
right.
Yeah, no,
Holler,
it's so hard.
baller, holler, ball. It doesn't. But Mountain Mamba just
Oh,
it just
so good.
flows. Trent already spoke on it. He said he liked that. He was cool with it. So, that I think, if the kid is, rocking the nickname is cool with the nickname,
Yeah,
then
let it stick.
yeah, yeah. So, but good stuff. Whoever it did, I forget who came up with Mount Mama, but
Someone on
that's
a
cool.
message. I think it was KSR's message board. I could be wrong, but
Okay. Yeah,
whoever
that
did,
dude.
pretty darn good work.
Yeah. So I saw him trying to get something going for Travis Perry for have a nickname, and I saw the Lion Kings, LYO, and for Lyon County, and there was a bunch of others. I think Drew Franklin put out there, good and bad. But the Lion King sound that's playing up Lyon County. That's kind of cool. But cool that both of them are getting all this and you know growing into
Yeah,
their
they wouldn't be
roles
getting it
and
if they weren't doing a good job. So if
exactly.
Travis Noah was going out there and struggling, or Travis Berry was out there and couldn't make a shot, they wouldn't be getting nicknames as freshmen. So
Yeah, for
it's good
sure,
stuff.
for sure. Uh, So yeah, just and like Mark Pope said, it's time for them to kind of step up. Every coach been saying that since the dawn of time. They're not freshmen
Yep.
anymore. It's February, and you got to grow up, and they're gonna have to help them win. And they've done it, and they'll have to keep on doing it until
Oh
these
yeah, I
guys come
mean,
back. So
yeah, they don't win that game without either one of those guys last night. I mean,
mhm.
not just the 11 and 18, but the hustle plays that Trent made, the decision making from Travis. I mean, they just don't win that game against, again, the number one defense in the SEC, the best 3-point defense in the country. So just can't help but just can't not be impressed with that. And they'll continue to get better. Both of them have a lot of growing to do, and they're far from finished products, but that's also what's so exciting about it.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Just a couple of the little stuff I listen to from Knoxville. I don't know each of these shows' relationship with Rick Barnes, or if have Barnes goes on the show, or if they
Yeah.
like Barnes or not. I don't know none of that. But the Fox Sports guys this afternoon, I did hear some of them say that you know did they Pope out coach Barnes. Maybe Rick is missing the gold cow on the other end of the Kentucky bench. I was like, oh. So there was that. Um Jason Swain played wide receiver for Tennessee a few years ago. He's got an afternoon show, and he was talking about how Kobe Bryant, the best shooter in the country, you know, don't just force him to dribble. Don't just let him shoot. Which the first basket he got, he put the ball on the floor and drove in and hit a floater. So he was doing the other stuff besides catching and shooting. But the thing that Swain said that, and I don't, you might know, you travel and cover all these games and talk to media members from everywhere. His whole thing he kept harping on is that, and I don't know what game Swain has watched. Maybe he watched him play Clemson. Maybe he watched the Georgia game. Maybe that's what he's getting. But he kept saying UK shouldn't be on Tennessee's level, and they beat us twice. And you look at all these top 10 wins, and then they beat you twice, and then you're still trying to say they're not on. He said it's okay to lose on the road at Auburn. It's okay to lose at Florida. And even though you lost bad at Florida, those teams in his mind are on Tennessee's level. Kentucky is not, and they beat us twice. So is there this same perception of Kentucky in your time? And look, athletically, is Kentucky on everybody's level?
Yeah.
No. Talent
No.
wise, no. But coaching and system, and when you put the whole collective together, I mean, you can't beat all these top 10 teams if you're not
No.
on some kind of level.
Yeah, no, I wrote about it last night. I think, obviously you got to credit the players. And, we mentioned how it was a balanced attack and so many guys had a hand in it. But if I had an MVP vote for last night's game, it's Mark Pope, man. I mean, and I had a Wes Rucker. I'm sure he wouldn't mind me sharing this. 247 covers the Vols, does a great job, has done it forever down there. Great guy.
Yeah.
He messaged me in the middle of the game. Nobody gets that. I lost it. 1 second. Sorry about that. Nobody gets. Come on, Wes. There it is. Nobody gets that many wide open threes against Tennessee. Either this is just a bad physical matchup for Tennessee, or Pope has figured something others haven't. Nobody gets these many clean looks against these guys. I mean, look, I do think there is something about the difference in styles, where Tennessee is one of the slowest tempo teams in the country. Kentucky, one of the quicker, faster tempo teams in the country. And, it feels like when those two happen, it evens out. It completely goes one way or the other, where either the team that wants to get it into a complete rock fight gets that, or the opposite. And in both games, I feel like Kentucky's controlled the tempo, and that's part of it. But I do think there needs to be something to be said about, Pope, his scheme, the way they cut really hard and try to get open looks and give you just different looks than most offenses across the country. And it's just something that, it's pretty unique. And maybe Rick Barnes, as a veteran and great coach as he is, it just might be something that, it's something he needs to take a harder look at when they play each other next year, or maybe they play in the SEC or NCAA tournament. And then, the other thing that Pope did so well, Ansley Almanor, I asked him about it after the game, like when it looked like all hell was going to break loose again. They're down 3, 6:32 to go. Lamont Butler's done, and you're worried as hell he might be done for good. And Mark Pope's just calm and collective and instilling confidence in his guys. So I just think I think that was kind of their way of giving Mark Pope credit, the comment where maybe Rick misses Cal on the sideline. I think that was I think that was a backhanded compliment to Mark Pope right there. So
because their whole thing was, we own Kentucky because Barnes had a winning record against Calipari. He was like 11-9 or whatever. He was a couple games over 500.
Well,
so yeah.
And Barnes is a fantastic coach. Don't get me wrong, and I think we all know that. But whatever it is right now, Mark Pope has his number. And I also think there needs to be something to be said. And I think I saw a clip of it from someone in Knoxville talk about it 2 weeks ago when Kentucky beat them. But in this day and age, rivalries are kind of different in the sense that there's so many transfers. There's not that many guys who play in each rivalry for multiple years. Like you see it every now and then and I'm talking football, basketball, all the main college sports, all college sports, but just specifically the big two with football and basketball. There's so much movement. I mean, just look at Kentucky and Louisville, for example. The combined rosters have 0 returning scholarship players, 0 for basketball this year. So they went into that rivalry kind of no one really understood it firsthand except for Mark Pope. Yeah. And, that's not to say Louisville played great in that game and they brought it and you felt the juice in there. But, Kentucky, Tennessee, same kind of deal, right? Where, Tennessee is a team that has done a good job retaining guys. Kai Ziegler's been around forever. They lost their big three with Josiah Jordan-James, Vescovy, and Placevic. All those guys moved on, but still, you know what I mean. They still have Ziegler, Meshack, Gainey, guys have been around the block. They get it, but Kentucky's head coach gets it now, and I think he kind of brings it out of these guys where maybe they hired someone like a Scott. I'm not saying he wouldn't do a good job, but like Scott Drew or Dan Hurley, like maybe they wouldn't bring that out and emphasize the rivalry the same way, Pope does, given his firsthand experience. There's just something about these rivalries where it feels like they're not quite the same sometimes when you have all this newness on each roster.
Right.
And I think, honestly, like, Tennessee's a good team. They're very physical. I've watched them quite a bit this year. I don't think they played their hardest against Kentucky either time. I think go watch their home game against Florida. Go watch their road win at Oklahoma, their road win at Illinois. Like, that was Tennessee at their best this year, where I don't think Kentucky's played the best version of Tennessee, and maybe that has to do a little bit with this whole like rivalry thing. And Chaz Lanier was almost on Kentucky, so he obviously can't hate them that much. You have Milicic is a transfer from Charlotte, so it's different. Then obviously all Kentucky's guys are new, but the head coach gets it. So
yeah,
again, I'm not trying to come up with excuses for Tennessee. Kentucky absolutely deserved to win both these games, and they're huge resume wins. I'm just putting respect on Tennessee's name because it's better to put respect on their name for Kentucky's resume standpoint.
Yeah, since you beat them,
yeah. So I think all that kind of plays into it. But Mark Pope is simply outcoached Rick Barnes in both these games. No question.
Yeah. And one of those guys did say that. He said, "I thought we kind of looked a little tired last night too." And I mean, they have a depleted roster, but I text some. I'm in a text group with a couple buddies, and we're all Braves fans, so it's great for baseball season. But they're Tennessee fans, so you know how it is when it's Kentucky, Tennessee. Yep. And but yesterday, what do you think? Or I asked them, and this was before we knew Jackson was out. And I was like, the Cats will be healthier than they were in Knoxville. Having Butler back, let other guys go to their normal positions. And the last thing I said is, if y'all act like Ansley Almanor has the cooties, the Cats will sweep. You look, he was wide open from the corner. That's his wide open from top of the key last night. Yeah. Wide open shots in Knoxville. Like you said, it's the
he was an X factor in those games.
They scheme it up to where and in Knoxville, I mean, they were in the gym by themselves. They were just sitting there.
Yeah, Tennessee was better defensively in this game than they were in Knoxville. Still too many breakdowns by the Vols, and Kentucky got plenty of clean looks, like the ones you mentioned with Ansley. But I did think Tennessee's defense was better last night against Kentucky than it was 2 weeks ago. Still wasn't enough.
And you got to give credit. Barnes kind of did. He didn't.
Oh, he did. I don't
want to take nothing away, but we did this and we didn't do that.
Yeah.
So it's happened twice. They shot 50% across the board twice.
Yeah.
In your place and our place. So that's Kentucky's carving them up. It's
no question.
There was worries. Can the system hold up to the physical play, superior athletes? And it's had its moments. Every team outside of Auburn and Alabama have had their little rough patches. If Alabama beats Auburn, then that means Auburn would have lost 2 out of 3. Oh my God.
Yeah.
My God. Whoa. So everybody in this league is going to have some ups and downs.
Tennessee's the number 5 team in the country, and they have 5 conference losses.
Yeah.
And no one's like killing them for that, because go look at who their losses are. They're 2 to Kentucky. Mm-hmm. Vandy is still a quad 1 loss at home. They lost to a really good Florida team down there, and they lost to Auburn by 2 points at Auburn. That's still a 1 seed to top 2 seed resume right there. Kentucky has 5 conference losses and 7 overall. They're on the 3 line. That's just what this SEC is this year. It's probably, I don't think they're going to let it happen, and Duke probably has a good enough resume where it shouldn't anyway. But like, you could easily make a case for the SEC to have the top 4 overall seeds in this tournament. It's going to end up. It's good. They're going to end up getting like 5 of the top 6. I mean, Auburn's almost a lock for a 1 seed. They have 12 quad 1 wins. Alabama is right there with them. They're not, the non-conference schedule Alabama put together is insanity, and they came away with that pretty close to unscathed. And they've only lost 1 game in the league. Then Tennessee, I just laid out their resume. It's really good. I'd say Florida's is even better now that they have that whole road win at Auburn under their belt.
Yeah.
So, Tennessee, Florida, Auburn, Alabama are all probably going to be on the 1 or 2 line. And then, Kentucky's probably going to be on a 3 line. A&M might be on a 3 line. It's just it's pandemonium. Ole Miss is not far from a 4 or 5 line. It's just it's a hell of a league, man. It's a lot of fun. Every single game, even the ones that like aren't too sexy on paper, like they end up being really good battles. I mean, just looking at South Carolina, like they've took Florida, Auburn, all these, and right now it's a 3-point game against Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Like every game in the SEC is an adventure, and that's why even the loss to Arkansas sucked given the circumstances, but take out the Coach Cal factor, and it's like you kind of get it. Like every team in this league is good. It's like pro sports.
Yeah, it sure is. And you gotta, I mean, I tip my cap to Paris because those guys are still playing hard for him. I mean, or else they wouldn't.
I thought, they were outgunned and overmatched in the environment, but I didn't think they came in a rough and slut walked. I don't, Paris after the game, we had guys not play well. Maybe they didn't play well, but I don't think it was because they weren't trying hard.
That's it. Oh, that note on the football side with former UK offensive lineman that just transferred to UNLV, Ben Chrisman, who came to Kentucky from Ohio State, passed away today. Just terrible to hear that happened.
21 years old, I think I saw. 23. It's heartbreaking stuff. I know he had transferred to UNLV after the season. But was a guy that they got in 2023 from Ohio State, unfortunately got hurt. Didn't play. I think he redshirted his first year here, and then this past year played a lot on special teams. And from everything I've heard and the tributes I've seen today, just a guy that was beloved in that locker room, great energy. I know just one thing I noticed from him is he was one of the first guys out of the tunnel every single game when they took the field. Just a guy that just seemed to be really, really well respected and loved in that locker room. And from the statements that UNLV put out, seemed like he was already making a quick impact on their culture there. Dan Mullen taking over as the head coach and kind of trying to put his stamp on things, and was kind of a guy that they were rallying behind to kind of lead the culture. So heartbreaking, and obviously praying and hoping his family, friends, teammates are all hanging in there. And it's just awful. It was heartbreaking to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. Condolences to his family and everybody that knew him well. And saw slacks and Coach Dukes put out stuff for Kentucky and all that. But
that was never. It's always the worst news when that happens, and it never gets any easier. So awful.
And from a personal standpoint, for you and I, the Super Bowl did not go the way that we hoped.
Awful.
And so now the question for me, I don't even think I've been a hater when I ask it. Doug Peterson, did this, won him a Super Bowl a couple years ago, got a statue, and now he went to coach Jacksonville and got fired. So what, will things be different this time for Sirianni and Philly?
Well, maybe Kellen Moore was a good OC the whole time. Well, I'll say this now on a serious note. Obviously give props to the Eagles. They Chiefs ass, and that's really hard to do. And Jalen Hurts played an outstanding game, deserved it, and got a cap as much as I hate it. But I am going to be curious to see how, because 2022, the Super Bowl they lost Shane Steichen, their offensive coordinator, and then their offense in the last 7 games completely fell off a cliff last year, and they ended up having to fire Ben Johnson, who was the offensive coordinator, and which was an in-house promotion. And then they had to go outside the organization to hire Kellen Moore, who obviously did a fantastic job. And now Kellen Moore leaves. He's the head coach of the Saints. So to me, that question you posed, it's going to depend on the OC hire. Because clearly Sirianni was not a great play caller, or when it was the in-house promotion didn't work. So is he going to try it again or is he going to go outside the organization, which is a little hard to do, in mid-February, as we saw. That's probably why he promoted from within the last time anyways. And I'm sure there are guys that Kellen Moore is going to want to bring with him to New Orleans. So it's all going to come down to that, in my opinion. If Sirianni gets the OC, he clearly got the DC hire right. I mean, anytime you hire Vic Fangio, you're getting it right. But that'll be in place. They have some guys, like Zach Bond's a free agent. They have a couple of Mekhi Becton. They have a couple of free agents here and there. Which is I can't believe I'm going to praise them again, but Howie Roseman's probably the best GM in the league. Say that, but I can't argue with it.
Yeah.
So I think, but long story short, it's going to come down to the OC hire to see if Sirianni's on a path to similar to Peterson, or if he's on a path to being really their best head coach in franchise history.
Yeah. So enough credit for the Eagles. That's enough of that from us.
Yep. 2 compliments. That's all you get.
That's right. We've maxed out on that. Another good episode. Safe travels to Austin, man.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to first time going down there. So excited to make the trip into newfound SEC country and new Moody Center. I think just opened a couple of years ago, so it should be a lot of fun, and we'll see how the Cats perform. It's always an adventure when they go play an unranked opponent.
Yeah, so great city, brand new venue, and all that good stuff. And we'll see if Kentucky can just kind of keep Texas down. They'll be amped up, and
yeah, that's a bigger game for them than it is for Kentucky at the end of the day. I mean, it's hard to say that when the fanfare is what it is here, but that is the truth. It is a bigger game for them than UK, and we'll see if Kentucky can match that or at the energy that Texas is going to bring.
Yeah, so be a road win and a win against an unranked team. So maybe you can check both of those boxes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you just gotta go get it done. We'll see what happens though.
Yeah. So appreciate everybody that checks us out. This will be up on YouTube and Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Like, rate, review, subscribe, follow, tell your friends, retweet, share, all of that. We appreciate every bit of it. And for Aaron, this is Vinny. We'll be back next week with another episode of Believe in Kentucky on the Believe Podcast Network. Y'all stay warm, stay safe, stay dry, and we'll holler at y'all next week.